All right. So who am I having first? Emmanuel. All right. First things first. We are doing our puzzle racers. Hope you know that. So we are doing our puzzle racers. Five puzzle racers before we get into our proper fight. You can log into your leeches. What about log into Timozone? You can use Timozone. It doesn't matter. No, now. I've sent you the link. So I'll share my screen. So what we are doing will go live. So when you beat me, it will show. Are we good? So join in. Let's go.
10, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 0, 0.
Tell him not to forget to send me the link. Ready? Okay.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
White pieces. 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 You seem to be very distracted, Emmanuel. What's happening? You are not even giving me a challenge. All right, so join in.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Black pieces. Black pieces. Okay, we're good. One last. Where are you? Are you still with me? One last one. Join in.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 7, 5, 6, 4, 5, 3, 4, 2,
Black
3,
pieces.
1, 2, 0, 0.
Black pieces. Black pieces. Black pieces. Black pieces. Black pieces. Uh-oh. Can't see anything here. Black pieces. Pieces. Black pieces. Black pieces. Black pieces. All right. Emmanuel 7. What's happening? The puzzles are kind of simple now. So what's taking you so long to find them? Hmm? Okay. What I decided, what we agreed, we are going to go through your openings and see why you're why you're losing your games. Let's find ways to strengthen your opening. Is that okay? So basically, what I want to do is I'll show you a kind of opening by showing you a game. The best way to learn openings is through Grandmaster games because at your level, it doesn't make sense for you to go and read a full book on one opening. It's going to be a lot of waste of it. It's going to be a waste of a lot of time. So we're going to go through we're going to go through a game. You're good, right? You can see my screen. You can see my screen, right? Can you still remember the opening principles I gave you? Can you did you memorize them like I told you to? Well, some of them. Okay, tell me the ones you remember. Yes. Develop your knight before your bishop. Develop your minor pieces first. Develop towards the center. Develop to attack or defend. Castle early. Do not bring out your queen early. Do not move a piece twice in the opening. Do not move more than 3 pawns in the opening. Um, Connect your rooks. Do not begin an attack until you've completed your development. Keep all your options open. Think, think, think. Right? Okay. So now the opening I like the most for beginners. Most people prefer to start with e4. I'm sure that's what you normally play as well, right? What do you normally play as a first move as white? Okay. So two. Is it B2 or D2? I can't hear you. The queen's pawn, right? This pawn, you move it how many squares do you move it? Yes, that's what I said. D4. I prefer the D4 pawn push for beginners instead of the E4 pawn push. Now, most people prefer to teach E4 because it's easier and simple to understand. And if you're following the opening principles, it's going to flow smoothly, right? But then it leaves you open to a lot of opening traps. It leaves you open to a lot of opening traps. And if your tactics is not at master's level, you are just going to be moving pieces, and you'll see that you fall into one trick and you don't know how you got into it. But then when you play the d4 pawn, because of the d pawn's natural protection, which is the queen, you tend to have some kind of protection. All you need to do is make sure you do not bring out a piece without it having protection. You understand? As your pieces are coming out, they must be connected to each other. They must have one other piece protecting them before they come out. That way, you don't fall to any tricks or traps. Is that clear? So we are going to look at how to play this d4. How to play this d4 by looking at certain players' games. So we might not look at the complete game, but we'll look at the first 10 to 15 moves and see how much you can achieve if you play d4. Now, the d4 is also very easy to learn because most times you don't have to start thinking afresh. You understand? For example, if you play e4, if you play e4, um, let's go back. If you play e4, most times you expect your opponent to play e5, right? But it doesn't always work like that. When your opponent plays e5, your entire plan becomes different as a white player. When your opponent plays d6, which is another option, your entire plan becomes different. Your opponent plays c6, which is the Caro-Kann defense, your entire plans must be different. Your opponent plays c5, the Sicilian defense, your entire plan must be different. Your opponent plays knight f6, your entire plan must be different. But when you're playing d4, you don't necessarily have to change wholesale. You get? Take for example, let's go to our d4. When you play d4, regardless of what your opponent plays, your next move, the line I'm going to teach you, there are a lot of other d4 lines. There are a lot of other d4 ways of playing. But the line I'm going to teach you is whatever your opponent plays, you follow up with c4. Is that okay? Now, the one that causes problem mostly for beginners is my opponent plays d5, right? So most beginners will be wondering, my opponent just played d5. How can I put my pawn on c4? Am I correct? So you are worried that you're going to lose your pawn, right? Yeah, but there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. If black chooses to take this pawn, if you check majority of games, even when white plays c4, black rarely takes the pawn because it has been tested and tried. The pawn is not a free pawn. In fact, one grandmaster once said that this is called the Queen's Gambit. Let's go back. When you play d4, your opponent plays d5, and you play c4. It's known as the Queen's Gambit, right? Do you know what a gambit is? A gambit is when you give up something, you give up material to ensure that you have quick development. Remember, I told you what's the three most important things in the opening: center control, pieces development, and king safety. Pieces development is a big part. In fact, it's a major part of everything. Pieces development ensures king safety. Pieces development ensures center control. You get? So pieces development should not be trifled with. So sometimes there are certain players, especially attacking players, just to gain quick development. You get my point? So now, a master once said, of all gambits, the Queen's Gambit is the only gambit that is 100% accurate. Are you getting the point? So most of the other gambits are dubious. Most of the other gambits are dubious. If you do not play it properly, sometimes that material you are giving up, you might just truly lose it, or the compensation you get for giving up the material is not sufficient. Are you getting me? But the Queen's Gambit is not so, because whenever you give this pawn, your opponent cannot just take it on a whim. Are you getting me? Your opponent cannot just take it on a whim. If he takes it, if he takes it, keeping it is another big problem for him. So it's one thing to take the pawn, it's another thing to keep it. So if you take a pawn and you can't keep it, let's take for example, if you take it right now, can you see that you cannot keep it? Find a way to take it immediately. Let's assume you are interested in getting your pawn back immediately. Show me a way you can get your pawn back immediately. Think. Let's see your tactics if it's still sharp. You can't take it back in one move because you are not attacking it currently. But attack it in a way it cannot be defended and you pick it up on the next move. If you use your queen to go to c2, it can be defended immediately. I said tactics. When you're playing chess, make sure you do, especially when you, I told you, tactics is something you do to gain material. A move or series of moves that helps you gain material advantage. Are you getting me? So you can't just attack one thing and expect your opponent to leave it for you. You're attacking the queen, your opponent is going to try to, you're attacking the pawn with a full queen, just the pawn, and you think your opponent is going to leave the pawn for you. You should think in a way that, think for both sides. If you're black, your opponent just attacked your pawn, just your pawn. Are you going to leave the pawn hanging? Are you going to leave the pawn for him because he's attacking just the pawn? Emmanuel, you will leave the pawn. Why? Did you get my... Oh, now look at the problem with queen c2 is not that you are attacking this pawn. He is going to get a second pawn. So find a tactical way to gain your pawn back while he can do nothing about it. Okay, your knight to a3 attacks the pawn, but he's just going to defend it again. You can move your queen to a5. With your queen going to a5, he is forced to defend the check. It's a check. If he defends with the bishop or the queen, you just pick up your pawn and you will be defending this pawn. Easy, right? Can you see it? It's a check. Queen out. If he defends with the bishop, you pick up your pawn, easy peasy. But this is not the best move. I'm just showing you that the pawn is not free. You're not giving out the pawn. Also, but there's a tricky one. He can defend with the knight. So that if you take now, he has two pieces on this pawn. So he will take this pawn and you are back to deficit. Right? So instead of that, you have to just defend your pawn first. So you can defend your pawn by attacking this pawn the second time. So can you see that the pawn is gone? Yeah, so it's not a free pawn. There are 1,001 way to pick up the pawn. You just have to be able to think. Now, if it is taken as well, if it's taken immediately, you don't even have to go after it. Knight up, making sure that the pawn cannot be defended immediately first. Can you see it? So then after you've done all that, you now open on your next move. E3 or E4, depending on the one you please. Then you can see this bishop is already looking at the pawn. Are you seeing it? Yeah. So this pawn is not free. Let's go back to what I was explaining to you. The general idea is, regardless of whatever your opponent plays, you should play c4. Now, why do we need to play c4? It's a nice way of not committing your second center pawn. And at the same time, remember center control. You are controlling two center squares in your opponent territory without committing your second center pawn. Does that make sense? Also, you are enticing this center pawn. You know, center pawns are the most important pawns in the opening because center control, pieces development, king safety. Three most important things. So center pawns are very important to control the center. So, but now you are using a flank pawn. The C pawn is a flank pawn. You are using a flank pawn to entice your opponent away from the center. And what this does is that he is going to lose one of his center pawn and allow you, after you consolidate your position. Remember, always bring out your knights first before you start pawn grabbing and all that. You now have two center pawn, while your opponent will have just one. Are you seeing it? All right. So we are going to look at a game along this line where the d5 move is played. We'll not look at the complete game. We'll just look at the first 15 move and see how the development goes, maybe 10 to 15, and see how the development goes for both sides. So it actually goes like d4, black plays d5, and white continues with c4. Remember, regardless of what black plays as this first move, you're still going to play c4, right? And then e6. Now, this is the main line, Queen's Gambit defense. Sorry, Queen's Gambit declined. Queen's Gambit declined. Whenever the pawn is taken, is known as Queen Gambit accepted. But if e6 is pushed, it means Queen's Gambit declined. It mean, you know what decline means. I'm sure you know that. So now, according to our opening principles, what will you play now as white? I want you to like pull out the game on your own. What will you play as white? And why? Your white, what will you play and why? I just told you not to worry about the pawn. Which rule are you breaking with knight a3? Which rule are you breaking with knight a3? You're breaking one of those principles I gave you. Rule 4. Open with a center pawn, knights before bishops. Develop your minor pieces first. Row 4. Develop towards the center. Knight a3. Are you developing towards the center? No. Now, also, before you play, ask yourself, how will my opponent respond? If you play knight a3 now, what do you think black is going to do? Did you consider what black is going to do about knight a3? So you didn't consider. Why? Why didn't you consider what black will do about knight a3? If you play knight a3, black will gladly pick up this knight on this side, forcing you to double your pawns on the a file. So these your two pawns are going to be stopped by one pawn. So these your two pawns are weaknesses that will be gobbled up later for nothing. A weakness is a square or a pawn that cannot be defended by another pawn. So these two pawns can no longer defend themselves and can't be defended by any other pawn. So by taking your knight to a3, you give your opponent the opportunity to do that to your position. So you see why you must follow those principles. Open with a center pawn, develop your knights before your bishop, develop your minor pieces first, develop towards the center, develop to attack or defend. And I just told you, you gave him this pawn to take. If he did not take it the first time you gave him, who told you he's going to take it now? It's still not available for him now. The only time you must do something about this pawn is if you're, and it's not 100% necessary, but it becomes a lot more difficult for you to get back or get your compensation, is if your opponent plays the triangle. But we are not there yet. So don't bother about this pawn. Your opponent cannot take this pawn. Don't worry. In another class, we are going to do a sample where I'll give you the opportunity to take the pawn and try to defend it. You'll see how many thousands of ways white will dismantle black's position. If you attempt to take this pawn and keep it as black, your position is just going to fall apart as like a pack of cards. Are you getting me? So you're white. In the opening principles, what will you play? Yeah, knight f3 is good. The two most recommended move at this point, knight before bishop. That's the rule. In the game we're looking at, knight f3 was actually played. So you can see that the C pawn is not a top priority to defend right now. In fact, we'll be glad if black chooses to take it. Yeah, and black continues with knight f6, following principles. Remember, open with the center pawn. Both sides have opened with center pawn. Develop knights before bishops, and knights are out. Can you see it? So you're white again. What will you play? Bishop to g5 is a line, but it's not the most. Bishop to g5 is not the most recommended move, but it's playable. It's playable. Bishop to g5 is playable to pin this um, knight to the queen, but it's instigate. Now remember, it is for a beginner. I will not recommend bishop to g5 for a beginner. Try as much as possible not to cross into your opponent's territory until you're well developed. Until at least 4 or 5 your minor pieces are out first. You get your minor pieces out before you start crossing into. Though there are lines where you are allowed to go as far as g5 or b5. There are lines like that. But in this one we are playing, I don't think going as far as g5 right now is advised. Knight before bishop. Get your two knights out. This knight has to be out. Remember, you have to hold the squares in front for this pawn. And this knight has to be out for you to actually develop your queen side. That's basically it. You need this file when it eventually opens up. You need this file for your rook when it eventually opens up. So that development of that knight, knight c3 is the next move there. And that was what was played. This game was played in 2021 in the candidates by the former world champion. So black played, after knight c3, black played bishop e7. Now, you see that black is also not committing anything. He just wants to get his king to safety before he proceeds. You're white again. White to play. What will you play? Remember your opening principles and play by them. Play by the opening principles. You discover that you find your moves a lot easier if you play by the opening principles. It's a good idea moving your pawn from e2 to e3. But the whole essence of this d4 pawn push is so that you can develop this bishop. The d4 pawn push allows this bishop to develop, right? But now if you move your e to e3, you are stopping that pawn from that bishop from developing. So before you move the pawn to e3, bishop f4 is advised. Develop your knight before bishop, develop your minor pieces first, develop towards the center. Now the bishop is out and is attacking center squares. Everything you do should focus on center squares. Can you see it? Yeah, so all the development white is putting up is to attack center squares in opponent's territory. Why they are not committing themselves to those squares? They want to get control of those squares, which is the key. So before you keep all options open, if you push this now, you have gotten your the bishop you opened, you are now closing its option. So it's better you keep bishops in front of pawn chains. Are we good? Are we good? Yeah, so bishop f4 was played, and the normal thing I always tell beginner, once you are ready, once the space to castle is ready, castle immediately. So black castle. Over to you. White to play. What do you think you like to play now? Emmanuel, when you're playing your games, you don't think before you play them, because some suddenly now it's like it's kind of getting difficult because you have to follow principles. Oh, you just so what do you think about when you're playing your games? But in the opening, these are the principles you are supposed to follow. Before you get to start attacking, not attacking, and defending, you are supposed to get your pieces out. If your pieces don't get out, how are you going to know which pieces are you going to use to defend yourself or attack the other guy? So white to play. Over to you. Find out what the grandmaster played and find out what you will play if you were in this situation. Maybe that's what you should do. Concern yourself about what you will play if you're in the situation, and we'll see how your move is, whether your move is good or if the grandmaster's move is better. Yeah, the e3 pawn push is good now that the bishop is out. You need to bring out your final minor piece. Remember, develop minor pieces first. Your minor pieces all have to come out. Is that okay? So white develops his knight. Knight b to d7. You're white. What will you do? All right, bishop to e2, bishop to d3 are all common moves in this situation. But in this particular game, our former world champion played something different. Clearly, he sees that this knight intends to stay here. So if you play bishop to e2 or bishop to d3 now, this pawn will pick up this pawn. Are you listening? Then you have to move the bishop a second time. Are you getting the idea? So the whole plan is to make white lose a tempo. After developing this bishop, black will capture, thereby forcing white to move the same bishop again because only the bishop can capture on c4. Do you see the idea? So white stopped the idea, and remember what we said: stopping your opponent's plan, creating a threat of your own. Instead, white played c5. What's the idea of c5? The only square this knight can sit on is this. So by playing c5, you make that square unaccessible for the knight. One. Secondly, you block the sight of this bishop. Two. And with this knight becoming immobile at the moment, this bishop cannot come out. So you want to develop your pieces fast enough while making it difficult for your opponents to develop. So you can see how that simple move does all those three things. Tie down three pieces of the opponent while white is getting out his own develop. And now he will not have to waste any tempo when he chooses to develop this bishop. Does that make sense? So black retaliates with knight h5. What's the idea of knight h5? Yes, the knight is not, the black's position is clumsy. It's clumsy in that with those knights being like this, the knights are standing in each other's way. Can you see it? So two of them cannot coexist anymore. The space is not sufficient for them, right? So one has to go. That's why the knight goes to h5. attacking this. Now this bishop cannot escape the attack. It has to go. So white decide, now you're white. Let me see what you're going to play. The bishop cannot escape the attack. So how do you proceed as white? But notice that white has forced black to break opening principles. Remember, do not move a piece twice in the opening. But because of the way white made black become clumsy, black has been forced to move the knight twice in the opening. Yeah, you're white. What will you do? Okay, white intends to castle this way, and it's not ideal to disrupt this structure when you so. This pawn needed for the protection of your king when it castles. So moving any of this pawn carelessly doesn't help your situation. Secondly, attacking this knight does not make any difference. The knight came here for a purpose to capture the bishop, right? So pushing the pawn only makes it happen immediately. The knight just captures. And have you developed a new piece by this? No, this pawn push does not help development. So you develop your piece. The world champion went ahead and developed his piece. He ignored the knight's attack. So the knight will get to move 3 times and white is happy. You understand? So bishop d3, developing the last minor piece. Remember, open with the center pawn, knight before bishop, develop your knight before bishop, develop your minor pieces first, develop towards the center. Look at all 4 minor pieces. Can you see they all develop towards the center, right? And they are all attacking center squares. Develop to attack or defend. Castle early. So the next thing on black white's mind is how do I get to castle? So it's not bothered about this exchange. Knight times this, pawn times this. If you observe from the start of the game, white was interested in the control of this square, and clearly he has it, right? So despite the capture of the dark square bishop, he still has it. And since his central pawns are on the dark square, his dark square bishop will not be missed a lot. So it's okay to let it go. Now on b6. Black wants to disrupt this pawn structure. He's not happy with this space and this restriction that this pawn is putting on his position. So you are white. How will you proceed? You castle no. If you can't remember, think. Your opponent you told me that when your opponent plays, you first see what your opponent just played to attack this pawn. Now this pawn is attacked how many times? Look carefully, Emmanuel. 3. Is defended how many times? So it's attacked 3 times, defended once. So what does that mean? I can remember teaching you outnumbered piece, right? So it means the pawn is outnumbered. So what that means is that you're about to lose a pawn. Not only that you are losing a pawn, you are going to lose the center as well. If these two pawns are off the board, black has taken over the center. And I'm not sure you want that. And certainly a world champion won't want that. So he has to strengthen the pawn structure with the b4. White challenges the pawn structure again with c5 with a5. You're white, what will you do? Come on, you're white. No. Look at your opponent's last move. Is that pawn defended? So you're going to just let your opponent pick up your pawn for free? So a3 must be played. The situation requires it. That's why the number 13, think. It's actually the most important thing. No matter how many principles you're giving, you're not going to get every exact situation that lines up. So you must be able to think it out. You can't see your piece being attacked, undefended, and you castle because the principle says castle early. You must always attend to attacks in your game. Whenever your piece is attacked, count. This piece is attacked. Is it well defended? If this exchange happens, what do I gain? What do I lose? Those are the basics for everybody. Beginners, masters, you must do it. Is that clear? So after that, c6 is played. Now c6, does c6 attack anything? No, c6 attacks nothing. So it means your pawns are now safe. Then you can castle. Can you see it? Bishop, bishop a6. At this point, you can see that white has finished his development and black is still struggling to get his pieces out. Can you see that? Now, also, black has incurred more weaknesses in his position in a bid to escape the space push from white. So, bishop a6, you're white, what will you play? You don't have an idea, or you're still thinking? All right, in this position, Ding played knight to e2. Clearly, white has completed his attack, so he's beginning to reposition his piece. Yeah, white has completed his development. Getting his queen off the back rank is the only thing needed, and the queen has a lot of options of places. And so the knights are coming to position themselves properly for a kingside attack. So that's why knight e2 was played. Knight e2 prepares for a kingside attack, getting his other knight to the kingside. Black plays queen c7. Now the idea of queen c7, what did you say? Yeah, queen c7 completes the development for black as well, because now his rooks are connected. But now white is aiming for a kingside attack immediately. So by getting, if you notice, more than majority of white's black pieces are on the queen side, and white has space. White has space on the queen side, so it means white will not be able to do much on the queen side. Are you getting me? Sorry, black will not be able to do much on the queen side. Black won't be able to do much on the queen side. White is flexible enough because of his space on the queen side to go all out against white's king, against black's king. So white goes h4, starting an attack. The queen to c7 attacks this pawn, but is the pawn well protected? All right. h6, making sure the pawn doesn't go far. g3. So as I move 15, assess the position. Let me get black's move 15, bishop c4. Whose position do you prefer and why? Why? Okay, the position is not how will I put it, 100% clear yet, but white has some form of positional advantage. The first positional advantage you can see is this queen side space. So white has space on the queen side, which is a good thing. Number two, white pieces are more coordinated, not just better developed, they're also more coordinated with good access squares. You can easily assess where each of those white pieces want to go or where they can go. This knight can relocate from here, can do this, and from there go up. So it can also go straight up if it wants. This knight has here. It can relocate this way as well. So white pieces can move freely. That's one of the advantages of space advantage. White pieces can move freely. But you can see that we can't say that for black pieces. Black pieces don't even have squares to go to, and they are cramped within. You can see that they are not connected. They are not helping each other. They are not the bishop had to just find his way out. Otherwise, this is a bad bishop if he stays at the back of this pawn chain. So you can see the uncomfortable situation black is. And this is the purpose of development. Your opening stage of the game is supposed to get your pieces to squares where they are most active, squares where they can do the most. Are you getting me? Squares where they can achieve. Yeah. So this game is one of the games I sent to you. I think this is game 4 between Ding. Your dad has given you the games, right? Ding Liren and Alexander Grish. Your dad has given you the game, right? Am I right? He hasn't given you. Okay. We are going to run through We're going to run through another game. We're going to run through another game, but we'll just go through the opening. Is that okay? Okay. Sorry, give me a minute. All right, I'm back. Can you hear me? Yeah, what did you say? Okay. I said we're going to run through another game. We're going to run through another game, but this time I want to go through someone else's game. Okay, let's look at Magnus Carlsen's game. Also in the Queen's Gambit, yeah. So now you're going to find Magnus Carlsen's move after the first sequence based on what we've learned. Is that, oh no, sorry. Emmanuel, your voice is down. Are you still with me? And you can hear me clearly. So d4, d5. You're white. What should be played? Yeah, c4 should be played. And black continues with e6. You're white. f3. f3 is a pawn move. Is this what you mean? Knight. Knight what? Yeah, knight f3. So knight f3 is good, but like I told you, the two recommended move in this position, they can come in any order. Is that okay? So knight c3 was played by Magnus in this position. Knight f6. You're white. Okay, knight f3 wasn't played. Instead, Magnus captured the pawn. Now, this is going to open up a new line of play. In the last game, Ding refused to take for a very long time, right? So as long as that tension remains, there are a lot of tactical possibilities. So more care is required. But Magnus did not want that tension to last long. And capturing is also a good move. Now, by capturing, can you see what White has achieved? White now has how many center pawns? 2. Can you see? White can hold on with 2 center pawns. But does Black have 2 center pawns? No. So Black has lost a center pawn. So do you see the idea of the capture? White to play, what will you play? Knight f3 is a good move, very good move. But instead, Magnus played your first choice in the last position, bishop g5. Now, what makes bishop g5 good now and wasn't the best at that time? What do you think changed? Yes, yes, the center tension has been resolved. That's what changed. The center tension has been resolved. So a bishop going to g5 doesn't. In the first situation where the center tension has not been resolved, Black can be the one to resolve the tension on his own term, and as such, the fourth rank will be opened, making the bishop vulnerable. But in this situation, Black does not have that option. Can you see it? So the bishop is not vulnerable to tactics in this situation. Am I making sense? c6. c6, clearly the queen is planning his options on this side, and at the same time holding this pawn another time. White to play, what will you play? Knight f3, a very good move again. But now let's take things into perspective. This game was played by Magnus Carlsen. He is not a beginner. So you observe that as you go higher, as you advance, there are certain rules that you can actually break comfortably, right? There are certain rules you can actually break comfortably because you know you know a little more than the average beginner. Are you getting me? And this is Magnus Carlsen we are talking about. Magnus Carlsen is seen as possibly the best chess player ever of all time. So you won't be surprised when you see him breaking beginners' principles, right? So in this position, he played e3, but e3 is a reasonable move, right? You see that, okay, it opens up for the bishop to come out. And like we said, the other bishop is no longer locked in, so e3 can come. Now, that's another thing you should always look at. Always weigh your options before you decide on one move. Don't just see one move and say, oh, this move looks good, and boom, you say you have to play it. No. Always take your time to weigh your options before you decide on any particular move. Is that clear? Okay. Now, Black played bishop f5. White to play. Try to be creative. Don't be creative. Try to see something you can do to put pressure on your opponent. Remember, in the last position, White kept on trying to make things difficult for black, especially when it comes to development. So see what you can do in that respect. Bishop d3. Okay, bishop d3 is going for straight up exchange, right? But Magnus did one better. He attacked the bishop without allowing the bishop attack back. Queen f3. Which principle is Magnus breaking here? Number 10, what's that? Number 10 is connect your rooks. Number 7, yes, that's what you do, not bring out your queen early. He has not developed his minor pieces. He's not ready. You understand, his queen side is not ready, and his king side is not, he has not developed a single piece on the king side, and then boom, he has brought out his queen. But then the idea is to force the opponent to move a piece twice, one, and to put serious pressure on this knight. Now the knight is attacked twice. Can you see it? And then his pieces are going to go to squares where they don't want to be. Are you getting the idea? Bishop g6. Now, bishop g6 will be played. Now, what he has here is he's going to initiate a form of exchange that creates weaknesses in black's position. Bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes, pawn takes. Remember what I told you about weaknesses. Weak squares and weak pawns are squares or pawns that cannot be defended by any other pawn. Can you see that these two pawns can no longer defend themselves? This pawn cannot defend itself. So, and there are no pawn that can defend them. So it means black is going to be saddled with the responsibility of defending those pawns throughout the game. While on the other hand, can you see how white's pawns are well positioned? So clearly Magnus was not interested in playing out the opening. He has at this point, we're already in the end game. So Magnus is a different breed. So you get, in this game, he was not prepared to play the opening strategies and see how he's going to develop his pieces, then go into a long middle game. He skipped the middle game by this plan, right? And went straight for the end game. So this game will not help us much in our opening discussion. So in our next class, we are going to discuss a few more games. I sent all the games, I think about 20 games in the Queen's Gambit, including Ding's game, Magnus game. I think there are a lot of, there should be some Gukesh game as well. So you guys can go through those games first, but we're going to go through them one after the other so that you see the idea of the opening, especially the Queen's Gambit decline. Is that okay? So any questions so far? All right, then this is a good place for us to stop. Yeah, have a nice day. Yeah, you too. Is Timo joining in now? Or it will be, you think what? 7. 7 is like in the next 5 minutes. Okay, I can wait. So there's no need disconnecting. Let me just wait for him. Yeah. All right, have a nice day. Bye.